Hello, I'm Damaya Woda, a scholar and a leader attending Ponce CTC. Throughout this school year, my fellow classmates and I will be keeping you informed on the great things happening in our district. And in case you missed it, this summer was full of exciting news. This year, DPS is under new leadership with our interim superintendent, Dr. David Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence is a Dunbar graduate and has a long history with DPS. He began his work with the district in 1995. Over the years, he has taught at Edwin Joel Brown Middle School, Meadowdale High School, has served as an assistant principal at Stivers School for the Arts, and principal at Thurgood Marshall Stein High School.
I'm personally looking forward to just getting out to school buildings every day and seeing the progress in terms of how we're trying to build culture. And I think that's a part of communication. Communication can be verbal, nonverbal, but also it can be your presence itself. And I think by being in school buildings on a regular basis, at lunch duty, recess duty, tying shoes for second graders and first graders, at athletic events, and just showing the administrative team that's closest to me on cabinet and those people in the schools that we really are going to work on culture this year. And all those school results, they'll come.
We are looking forward to an amazing school year under his guidance. After a long overdue upgrade, the Welcome Stadium renovations are officially done. Come out and show your DPS spirit by attending a game and experiencing the new and improved stadium for yourself. Unable to attend the game? Catch our Games of the Week live streamed on the DPS YouTube channel. Games are streamed on either Thursday or Friday from students like me in the Ponce Media Arts pathway. Recently, the district broke ground on the Transportation Center renovation project. The renovated center will include more open space, break rooms, additional restrooms, consultation and conference rooms, office spaces, and more. Wrapping things up, DPS has so many great staff members who help our district thrive. In this episode, we're spotlighting Rob Hunter, the district's Director of Operations. Mr. Hunter has been with the district since 2019. Previously, he worked as the Compliance Coordinator for Operations. His day-to-day duties consist of meeting with the staff, going out to buildings, performing compliance inspections, and ensuring buildings meet all safety standards. That's it for this episode of In Case You Missed It. Catch us next time for more district highlights and follow us on social media to get the most up-to-date info and news 24/7. I'm Damaya Woodall, and remember, you can waste your life drawing lines or you can live your life by crossing them. Quote by Shonda Rhimes.
Hello, my name is Kamaya Hilton Thomas, and I am a senior at Stivers School for the Arts. I started taking College Credit Plus classes in the 8th grade up until this year, where I recently got my associate's degree before my high school diploma. I started with very few classes, and then I just kept growing and growing. Many people recommended I keep a small course load, but I kept leveling up and taking as many as I could. So I kept maxing those hours out, and over the summer I took 16 or 15 credit hours so I can just be one step closer to getting my degree. Not many people have an associate's degree. Straight out of high school, some people, go start working without a degree, or maybe they even take a gap year or go to school. So to have that one thing done and accomplished is great. It's gonna save me a tremendous amount of money. Even though I have gotten a scholarship, it also helps though, because it's that scholarship is only 4 years. So if I go over that time, or I need to help and take other courses, I have that done. And that actually has helped me, because that's basically a free degree that I can lean back on.
Today was a day of excitement and enthusiasm and an inspiration for kids. Our goal is to inspire kids by doing and experiencing science in really fun ways. So if we can make science fun and exciting, they're going to gravitate towards those things, and then they're going to be I need to do more of that, and I want to try that. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to try new things, because science is all about learning, exploring, and really just investigating the world around us. Being able to come out to a school like Roosevelt Elementary and working with Dayton Public Schools is really important because I want these kids to see and I want them to experience science in a way they've never experienced it before. Make it fun, make it big, make it explosive, but most importantly, make it relatable to them. And that's what this whole program is all about. What we got to do today, what I got to do on stage, doing all my demonstrations was fun. But the engineering design challenge, where kids are building and they're testing and they're figuring things out, that's what science is really all about, is figuring out, oh, that didn't work. How do I make it better? Or, oh, let's try that again, but let's change it just a little bit. That variable needs to change. So watching them build their towers and actually figuring out how to get that ping pong ball as high as they possibly could, that's amazing. And you could just see their wheels working the whole time. And that's what this is all about, is getting them to be okay with trying it, but most importantly, with not getting it right the first time.
That's correct. Correct. I now call to order this September 19th, 2023 business meeting. Madam Treasurer, may we have a roll call?
President Goodwin,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Sampson,
Present.
Ms. Wick,
Present.
Dr. Pickett,
Present.
Ms. Reiner,
Present.
Mr. Lacey. Here. 7 present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right. Dr. Lawrence, I believe we have a presentation first.
We do PLC, Professional Learning Communities. I'd like for Chief Academic Officer Keisha Sheedy to come up, and also Dr. Marvin Jones, Executive Director of HR, but whose doctoral dissertation, a couple hundred pages on PLC. So we have two experts here. Take it away. By the way, your dissertation was phenomenal.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
It was all right. I felt like you got a little weak towards the end of it, and I was like, he must got tired.
That's right. You do
It
read
got
them all.
stronger.
I definitely
You read them
read.
all.
It got stronger.
Cover to cover.
So, Madam President, Dr. Goodwine, other distinguished members of the school board, Dr. Lawrence, we want to thank you for this opportunity to present to you just a portion of some of the work that we will be engaging with principals and teachers, okay? And the work is primarily around professional learning communities. I think it's absolutely critical that I give the mic now to Ms. Sheehy to describe the why.
Can I stop you 1 second?
Yes.
Are the speakers on? Can you guys hear him in the audio?
Check.
Check, check.
Give him 1 second. I hate for them to miss
Okay.
this presentation. I know you guys worked all night on. All right, try again.
Testing, testing.
You may have to just talk a little, you might have to use your principal voice today.
All right, no problem,
help
no
us out.
problem. I am now going to give the mic to Ms. Sheehy.
How's your day going today, Ms. Sheehy? How's your day going? You know, why they doing that? Let's take attention off of them for a second.
It's been a good day. Today's been really informative, lots of working with teachers. It's been fun.
What you have for lunch today?
I had a salad with
Oh, that's-
green olives, grilled chicken.
There you
Some
go.
blue
Are you
cheese
being healthy right now?
crumbles.
There you go. I was hoping for something dynamic there.
Oh, that wasn't.
You at least have some sweet tea or something to wash it down with.
No, I had a blueberry seltzer.
So you just all the way in on this, huh? I'm gonna pull the mic down towards you a little bit. Why don't you get all the way ready? That way you can just go. And then
Mic
we'll
check,
get you
mic
going.
check.
They can hear you online. You just gotta talk loud for the people in the room. Do you guys have one right there? You guys wanna wait for the screens to come up?
Do it, have it come up there.
Yeah, they don't have it up there, but they have the presentation. I mean, you guys can talk through it, and we still can put it online for individuals to see.
Okay. So we're talking about professional learning communities. And our baseline is to identify our why. Simon Sinek talks about knowing your why. And knowing your why helps establish and continue success. And our why helps us understand why we do the things that we do. And we do this work to create improved outcomes for children. It's our purpose. It's why we exist. And the why also drives behaviors. So professional learning communities drive certain behaviors that we know will support student outcomes. One of those things is the culture, building a culture of trust. A culture of trust among teachers, so they're willing to do the work. communication, having open, honest dialogue that's respectful, consistently building the competence of our staff, creating collaborative opportunities for all stakeholders. And we know if we do this, the outcomes will be high levels of learning. When we're in professional learning communities, and I've had the opportunity to really be engaged in some of them this week. Today I was at Roosevelt. And the main purpose and the transition and the paradigm shift is focused on learning. And so today in a PLC, you could actually see things clicking with teachers. And that's why we want to move from a teacher-based team model to a professional learning community, because it sustains learning throughout.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehy. There's a plethora of research out there about learning communities via Peter Senge, Richard Dufour, but my research actually aligned with a lot of the findings and claims of these two researchers. The three major themes that came out of my research was student achievement data, teachers as resources to each other, and allocated time. Okay, now I'm going to take a little time to explain to you what each sphere is and what it means. So the first sphere is teachers as resources to each other. I explained this sphere to be the most complex. Teachers serving as resources to each other has varied meanings. During the interviews that I conducted, teachers expressed positive experiences in the area of planning. Planning is absolutely critical to rendering effective instruction. Teachers stated that a part of their personal growth has been the result of being able to plan lessons together that specifically address individual student learning gaps and group learnings. The ability of teachers to learn new instructional strategies from each other and develop lesson plans that cater to the needs of their students was quite apparent as well. Teachers actually championed their ability to be able to create flexible groupings of students based on student scores on pre and post and common assessments. The second sphere is student achievement data. By student achievement data, I mean student scores on common assessments. Dufour contends that it is of critical importance to utilize data to drive decision-making within professional learning communities. With no student performance data, teachers have no objective basis on which to make instructional decisions. Teachers consistently voice the importance of attending meetings prepared ahead of time with their student data. Most importantly, having student performance data to drive discussions about planning, collaborating to group students based on skill level, and progress monitoring of student data frequently emerged in teacher language. The third sphere was perhaps the most expansively talked about sphere among the three. In my review of past literature, the theme of time was not common, or if any included, it wasn't included, or not expanded upon in much detail. According to what I heard from teachers, the early years of teacher-based teamwork was fraught with the inadequacy of time. Teachers expressed frequent frustration that they could not complete the mandated 5-step process of teacher-based teams due to inadequate time. And we'll spend a little time today examining our former TBT form that we utilize to track data, the 5-step process in essence, and Ms. Sheehy is going to go through what we're going to do moving forward. Okay, first things first. We'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So a group is not always a team. You have the same goal. You can be working in close proximity. People are working hard, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're collaborating. I heard a board member, I've heard it in our leadership team, talk about silos. We have to eradicate silos, okay? Again, a group is not always a team, all right? And the team is not always a learning community, okay? Just because we have teacher-based teams building leadership teams does not mean that we're learning. Our aim is to create a learning environment, not only for our students, but for our teachers, for our administrators, and everybody in central office as well.
The next slide, please. So Dr. Jones talked about the three major themes of learning communities. The first one is ensuring that all students learn. And when we say all students, we have to mean all students. And sometimes in our current teams, that's not necessarily the case. We want to make sure that we explain what students need to know and be able to do, and how will we know if those students learned it. Also, how will we respond if they have not, in addition to how we respond if they have met the target. The second theme is a culture of collaboration. Teachers are working in teams. They're engaging in ongoing cycles of questioning and discourse, and this promotes deep learning. The high levels of learning equate to teacher clarity. And when we talk about teacher clarity, we talk about teachers knowing effective instructional strategies and how to use those strategies. And that ultimately leads to collective teacher efficacy. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about teachers' belief in their ability to affect student outcomes. And in my experience, since I've been back to Dayton Public Schools, that has been a glaring aha moment for me. I was speaking with some of our teachers today, prepping them for our professional development cohorts that are happening starting next week and also Friday. And what I heard was they were so used to someone telling them what to do, what to say from a script, and not really understanding that these scripts are just supplements. We make the difference for our students. We are professionals. We are the experts. And so we should have tools in our toolbox that we are very clear about when they're needed and how to use them. And professional learning communities create this type of environment. These teachers meet, these teams meet, they have designated times to meet, and these teams adopt student achievement goals that are linked to school, district, and state goals. Our third theme is a relentless and fanatic focus on results. People can be busy, we all are busy, but what is it that we're doing that affects the bottom line? The results. Students' academic achievement, students, staff, and educating the whole child. We have to be focused on that. There are no excuses. We work together to improve student achievement, and it's not my score, it's not your score, it's our score. This is just going over the actual process. This process is very simple because, again, our focus is on learning. So what happens is the team meets, they create a focus around the district or building goals, they use data to drive this focus, and then collectively they create lessons, they determine strategies, and they identify a way to assess the results. After they do that, they implement those strategies. They come back after assessing the students on the strategies, and then they respond. They analyze the data and determine what the next steps will be.
Okay, this work will take hard work and commitment. We have to focus our efforts on improving learning. That has to be at the core of everything we do. We have to ask ourselves, are our students learning? Are we as adults learning? We must operate collaboratively in matters related to student learning and highly effective instruction. That collaboration piece is absolutely critical to the success of our school district. We have to get out of those silos. We must also hold ourselves and each other accountable for bringing to fruition the kinds of results that we expect. Earlier, Ms. Sheehy talked about collective efficacy and culture. And when you really think about this concept, this idea of culture, it's so elusive and not well defined, but culture, perceptions and beliefs, they give rise to behaviors. Those behaviors, once you have an amalgamation of comparable behaviors, dictates what your culture is. For instance, if I don't believe that this student can learn or wants to learn, perceptions and beliefs, how will that impact my behaviors? Right? And once you have a lot of those behaviors in the building, that's what dictates your culture. Okay, and so we're trying to change culture here through PLCs, okay? Professional learning communities. Next slide, please. Now, how is this different from teacher-based teams? To be honest, it's not wildly dissimilar, okay? We want everyone to understand that. The term that comes to mind that Michael Fullen coined is simplexity. Simplexity, okay? Essentially, the tighter the focus on a problem is, the better you understand the nuances of that problem, okay? And so we want to keep it simple. And as you can see in the 2 slides earlier, the process is already diminished from 5 to 4. And you'll see on this TBT document, the former TBT document, if you'll click on that for me, please. Okay, so I'm going to take a little time here, and if you could scroll slowly. So this is what we used last school year and in previous years. Keep scrolling a little bit faster. When you get to step 1, pause for me. Okay, here we go. So a little bit more. Yep. Thank you, ma'am. So as you can see, pre-assessment data, collect and chart data to identify how students are performing and progressing. Now I want you to understand, okay? Our teacher-based teams, our teachers met once per week for 45 to 50 minutes at the high school level, right? Now, earlier I shared with you that time allotted was a critical component, right? The time we have to collaborate and determine what student needs are is critical. But if you can just scroll a little bit quicker now, step 1, I just kind of want you to capture what had to be done during our TBTs and BLTs. A lot of the teachers expressed that this was compliance work. And we want to get away from that. We want it to be meaningful. Now, I think if we had 2 hours or 3 hours a week, this document may suffice. But again, we want to streamline our efforts. And so this is where Ms. Sheehy will come in and share with you, and that's only step 3. I mean, if you can keep going all the way down to step 5. It's a lot. Ms. Sheehy will share with you the new process.
So if you could go back to that same slide and go to the new form. So already you can see this is a little friendlier. This first page is just a resource for teams to come together and establish norms. We know how important that is to set norms and expectations for the team as well as responsibilities. You can scroll down a little bit. This next form is just showing, it's a worksheet to show how you can set goals. We talked about making sure that the teams had goals. So this just walks them through how they create those goals. You can scroll down. So now we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the forms that they would have to fill out. This is an agenda and meetings form. You can keep scrolling. It has the evidence, it has dialogue in there, and this is what, if the state asked us for evidence, this is what they would submit. And you can keep going down. This is where they analyze their work. As you can see, it's a lot simpler because we're focusing on student learning. We're focusing on dialogue and discourse with one another and learning from one another instead of filling out forms. So it's very simple. This is where you talk about different strategies, and it's very focused work.
Good, next slide. Okay, so some of you may be asking, where do we start? We're talking about culture change. We're talking about changing behaviors, right? We're going to start with principals. And we have the leadership team organized a leadership series for principals. And you can see here we have 4 dates, September 23rd, October 7th, the 21st of October, and November 4th. All of these sessions will take place between 9 a.m. and 2 o'clock p.m. on Saturdays. Again, the central focus will be student learning, but the principals will be the leaders in that effort. Ms. Sheehy, Ms. Minor have done a wonderful job, in addition to the other academic leaders in central office, putting together a really great and meaningful learning series for our principals.
Also, we've already started some of those learning communities amongst the leadership and building leaders. We have been working with them on project report card, and we've had them in with the leadership, with accountability, and really combing through what our data looks like, giving them information, learning together, so that they know what the report card means and how we can improve as a district. So in summary, all of the departments need to work together to become professional learning communities, because it not only benefits adults, but the bottom line is the effect that it has on our district, the success of our district, which equates to the success of our community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll open up to questions. Go ahead, Dr. Pickett. Where you going, Ms. Sheehy? You just gonna drop the mic and leave?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you both for your presentation. I just noticed on page number 3, we're talking about research findings, but I don't see a reference page, and I don't see any of this tied to research. I would love to see that if possible.
Yes, I will forward you my dissertation.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
I was going to ask for that too. Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Board Member Reiner.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm looking forward to reading it as well, too. I find reading people's dissertations to be a very interesting glimpse into what they've studied. This looks really good. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this plays out and what the results are of this throughout the school year. My one question is, looking at the timeline of learning, all sessions will be held between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday. We're all very busy people. We all have lives outside of this district. And I want to just make sure, will staff be compensated for their time at these separate Saturdays? What is the arrangement for making sure that, I don't know what it is, but I know that our staff and our teachers are very busy, and have we made sure that we are accommodating everybody's busy schedules?
So this academy on Saturday is for administrators. And so there aren't additional compensations for administrators. It is at their discretion. If they'd like to join us and partake in these leadership academies, then they are welcome. If they have conflicts, we understand. Like you said, everybody has a life outside of their work and professional life.
Thank you, I appreciate it. We do care deeply. Will there be refreshments? Can we?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I want to
We
make
will.
sure that they.
Oh, yes, we're gonna treat them well, give them some snacks and lunch and gifts and walkaways,
Good.
swag bags.
Good. I appreciate everybody who's able to make it. I understand it when people do not. And I'm grateful for everybody's continued dedication to this district and our children. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Vice President Smith?
Thank you, Madam President. With this shift, first, thank you for your presentation. With this shift, what does it look like for our current PSC staff, our coaches and things? What does that look like for them moving forward, and how will they be used?
Oh, PSC coaches? That's a good question. So what we've been working on is identifying the resources that we have, how we currently use those resources, determining if we're using them in the most effective manner, and then identifying a way that we can ensure that that happens. So in the professional learning communities, we talk about multi-tiered systems of support. And the PSC coaches, males, females of color, success coaches, resiliency coaches, all of these resources have a role to play in this process. And typically, they are more of a tier 2 support, smaller groups, more focused. And so we have training for them so that they understand their why, how they fit into the process, and again, the competence, continuously improving that process so that everyone knows the expectations and the role that they play in the success of our students.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Anything on there? All right, I have a couple questions for you. Again, thank you for the presentation. So I've been in a couple schools and I've seen a great difference in the environments based on some of the schools we have right now. For some of our schools that are not at that collaborative place where they are trying to adjust to the environment, what is the plan to help those cohort of teachers to really just find their grounding so they can get to this program?
So we are working as a team to provide different resources. All right, so actually, Dr. Jones, myself, and Sharon Goins, we're currently working with some universities to provide resources for first-year teachers, long-term subs, all of the different subgroups of teachers, teachers that have been here that may be struggling, may have lost their passion. All of these different groups, we're working on different professional opportunities to support them all. Also, the leadership group is working with the building leaders for them to really take control because they know specifically what's going on in their building. They know their teachers best. And so we're going to need them to tell us what they need, and then we're here ready to serve. We're in the buildings. My team stays in the building. We go out together on instructional rounds, and we all have our expertise. And so we go out there. Before we go, we ask the principal, is there anything that you need from us in particular? If so, that's what we do. If not, then we're observing to see what it is that we can do. And then, we work with our team to see what resources that we can send out to the buildings.
Okay, let's go a little deeper in the question, right?
Yes.
So you say you got these resources, and I mean, we know that we have a portion of our population that's not a part of this community, and their struggle may be with the adjustment to the cultural difference here, which I'm more interested in how are we helping not lose those individuals because of, like, yeah, a university is great, but a university isn't this community, and what they may need help with is this community and that piece. So those supports there that are helping us not completely get to the point where a person completely disengages with us because they feel like they're failing every day. What are we doing for those people?
So let me give you an example. So there are some new teachers, and I've heard this many times. School did not prepare me for this. So, for instance, I'm going into classrooms. I've reached out to a principal before our instructional walkthrough. What is it that you need? I have these 4 teachers that are new, that are struggling. They're not adjusting well. Okay, me and my team, we go into the classroom. Hello, how are you? Is there anything we can help you with? Follow up. I go back into the class, I stay with them for the day, help them, model for them, give them feedback, allow them to ask me questions. PSC coach is there also because that person is in the building multiple times a week, follow up, resources, and then I become a mentor to them. If I have an ELA teacher was in this building too, one of my curriculum people that focuses on ELA, she's going in, she's making sure they understand their curriculum, following up, what professional developments do we need to do on a daily basis. Tomorrow she'll be in the building all day with them to follow up to make sure the class is going well. Being a mentor, so we're doing that in every building, every day.
Look
I was
like,
getting my cues from the culture.
I know, I seen her back there, I thought she was gonna walk on up.
Yeah, culture and equity queen, so if she wants to come up. No, we've been discussing having 2 and 3 tiers for teacher support. We know that cultural norms, often the divide between students and teachers is like a cultural norms divide. The teachers' lived experiences sometimes radically different or minimally different, right, from the students that they serve. And that impacts what? Behaviors. Perceptions and beliefs give rise to behaviors. And so we are currently in discussions with the University of Dayton, Dr. Nino Nene, Dr. McIntosh. They are the local gurus in culturally responsive teaching, equity, and so our plan is to have learning series for all of our first-year teachers and have learning series also for our long-term subs, particularly those we want to move into the certificated realm, if you will. So help them get certified as teachers. But that is a great question. I think that's a question that is not asked enough. We have a lot of really good content, people that have a deep knowledge of the content, but can't get the content to the students because there's a cultural divide. And so we're gonna provide, again, some learning sessions for those teachers. And also the 3rd tier will be mentorship in the buildings. We're gonna identify strong teachers in the building to have sit-down sessions, reflection sessions, if you will, with those teachers on a weekly basis. They'll maintain a reflective journal where they'll have dialogue with their mentor about classroom management, about instruction, how do you keep your cool in during times of adversity and frustration. So we're going to be extremely intentional about creating professional learning communities that span the spectrum, no matter where you are in the district.
That's encouraging to hear. I would also encourage you guys to come out of the academic realm a little bit, and there are a lot of really good elders, community members who have been in education, who are also actively involved in these communities, who may have things to offer to our learning community that you necessarily wouldn't get from a professor. So I would encourage you to really tap into just some of the different individuals amongst our Dayton community who are leaders in their span and who have lived a life and that can help with that understanding and moving some things that you don't necessarily learn from academics.
Right.
So, got a couple more questions for you guys. Anybody else before I keep going? Appreciate it. Okay, so this is like a newer process here, and my question for you, with anything else new, what is the plan to build trust in our staff to trust this to actually to get it to where you believe it can go? So how are we going to develop that trust in it? Why should they trust it?
Okay, so we can tackle.
Ms. Sheehy, could you speak to the lunch, learn, and listen that you and Ms. Minor have it as a pilot in Horace Mann? That's a good
Yes.
segue for that.
So, again, one of the things that we talked about was building a community of trust. One of the things to do that is being present. Another is listening while being present. So some of the schools, of course, since there are a lot of new teams and people don't know everyone, we decided to do some lunch and listens where we provided lunches at the school, and then during their lunch, they could come in, have lunch, and ask questions, get to know one another, and really just talk and debrief. And what came out of that was really some amazing experiences, but we learned a lot about where teachers were, whether or not they felt appreciated, just small things that they wanted to improve their instruction. But I mean, we sat and people cried and told their story and just really got a lot of things off their chest and started to build relationships. And I think it was really important. People have been reaching out, can we do this? Can we? So we're scheduling more of those. But again, relationships is at the forefront of everything. And so allowing us to build these relationships and opening the schoolhouses up to build those trusting relationships, I think, is the first step for us.
Okay, and then I just have one more statement for you guys. On that last form, although I hear that you say it is less than the prior form, that's still a pretty thick form. So I really hope that you are open to the feedback of the individuals who utilize the form so it does not become more burdensome to complete than useful to what is intended, and taking that feedback to make those forms useful for their application, because it's
Absolutely.
pretty long still.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would just say that I've had experience with both forms in a number of different experiences. And the latter form, again, allows for more conversation. There are roles and responsibilities in every team, and so sometimes somebody's just jotting down notes, and we reinforce to them, if it's not working, give us some feedback. We're willing to make adjustments, make changes, but just knowing the expectation. The expectation is to have a conversation about what your focus is, about what students need to know and be able to do. The conversation is about, did the students learn it? Let's see, what's the evidence? Did they learn it or not? And then, what are we going to do about it? As long as we get through that process, the paper is just a formality.
Okay, I have one more question, because you said something and it gave me one more. One more. For on the other end, are you guys understanding or even asking the teachers that are going through this program what their expectation is of you guys as facilitators of this program?
And so it's not a program, and we're not actually the facilitators.
Well, the people who are doing it, like, what is the employee's expectation of what they're hoping to gain by participating through this process?
Okay, yes. And so in the conversations, I think, again, we're going back to the why. Why do we do this? Because we want students to have improved academic outcomes. And as you sit down with teachers, the weight that they carry on whether or not their children, their students are learning is immense. And so anytime we can make improvements and show them that this is what they've done, and I think we had some of those conversations in the lunch and learns too. They think we've worked so hard, but nobody's saying, giving us any kudos because the report card still is not where we want it to be. But anything that we can give them to improve their practice, anything we can support them in making sure that students are learning, they're open to. And so their feedback in the process, again, we're always doing surveys, anything we can do to get their feedback, because ultimately they're doing the work, and we want to respect that. And so I've gotten some feedback today from a meeting. Can we make it a Google Doc? But just making it friendly, user-friendly, and effective is our goal.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from anybody? Yes, no? Okay, go ahead. Board Member Witt.
One thing, thank you for your presentation. It's really wonderful. I probably won't read your dissertation, but it sounds really interesting. Interestingly enough, the work that you're talking about right now and what you're doing, the first time I campaigned to run for school board, I was like, why would I run for school board? What do you do? Who are you? What do you do? And I would say I'm a relationship person. I love people. So kudos to leaning into that aspect of people and humanness, because I believe it's about relationships. So thank you for that. And then one of the other things that I heard early on in the work at an OSBA conference was something somebody said, and that is, leaders create culture, culture drives behavior, and behavior produces success, which I believe that's probably what your dissertation is about. So this work, I think, really reflects that leadership style, and I really think that we're going to see a lot of good outcomes from it, and I look forward to hearing about it. So, and you building the young leaders, I think we were intentional about knowing that we had a lot of young leadership in the building, and to do the work that you're doing to help develop, I think, looking forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you. We're excited about it.
Anything else, anyone? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the hearing of the bargaining units. Is there anyone from any bargaining unit that would like to speak? I don't see any, so we will move on. Madam Treasurer, do we have any individuals from the public registered to speak?
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 second. Actually, I'll just go off the top of my head. I don't have it up here. Remember to speak. Okay. It's asking me to sign in and get it.
Here.
One sec. All right. Thank you.
Take it.
All right, I just want to remind you that please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Yeah, the president has a discretion to extend the time when your time is up. If you are speaking, it is inappropriate to address any matter involving pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary actions involving employee or student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns or matters that have already been settled, or any other matter which would, because of its nature, be deemed appropriate to be discussed in the executive session. Madam Treasurer, can you please call the first speaker?
Mary Jane Rakob.
This is weird.
Oh, I'm
Looking
sorry.
and seeing you. Board President Goodwine, board members, and the fantastic Dr. Lawrence. My name is Mary Jane Reckab, and I am a former 39-and-a-half-year employee of this district. When I left the district, I was led to believe by the district that my usefulness was over. I've watched this district the last few years, and I am still very close to many current employees. In speaking with them, I have heard the woes, the good, the bad, and even some of the ugly. However, that has all changed. In the last month and a half since school started, I am hearing nothing but incredibly positive things. The excitement, the enthusiasm, the pure joy I'm hearing from teachers and administrators is very, very refreshing. So much so, it's contagious. It's so contagious that last Thursday, I filled out the paperwork to become a volunteer with Dayton Public Schools. I am definitely looking forward to coming back and working with students again. However, I am a bit concerned. I volunteer in various public and private organizations. However, this is the only organization that I had to pay for my own background check. My concern is that there may be people, whether they be on fixed income, they may not have the wherewithal to pay for their background check. And I do feel that that's something that needs to be addressed. I am in the process now of gathering some of my former cohorts from Fairview Middle School to get them to come back and volunteer. I think there's a real need for some of that one-on-one that we may be able to give the students. Obviously, we do have expertise, as you can see from your board president. So with that, I thank you. I congratulate you on bringing Dr. Lawrence into this position and look forward to all of the positive things that are coming. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will ask Dr. Lawrence to look in that, because you should not have had to pay for your background check, because we actually made that change recently, and we will make sure that that is communicated. I believe I saw it updated on the website recently as well.
They called the treasurer's office while I was there today, and they were told that that was only for paraprofessionals.
That is not accurate information, I don't believe. We made that change, so. Board Member Reiner?
I believe the conversation was centered around the district would cover the background checks for parents and grandparents or family members that wanted to volunteer. But I think making sure that we support volunteers, whether they come from the community or from family members, is a really good idea.
So yes. Thank you. Madam Treasurer, our next speaker.
Taylor Robertson. Mr. Robertson. Okay. Courtney Jeter. Courtney Jeter. Okay. Latrice Ward. Okay. Lainey Wheeler. Okay, I guess they are not here. We'll go to Harvey Talk.
Education will determine the future of America. It's well known that many public schools especially in urban areas, are not performing up to standards. We address this with school choice. However, when a student chooses an area outside of their own home, transportation becomes a problem. Basically, we should continue with school choice, but recognize it'll help only a nominal number of students and will not fix the schools they come from. So how do we fix them? We should recognize students are born different without difference because of the color of the mother's skin or the financial status of the mother. They're different. And then we have the first 5, 6 years of home life. The report card at the end of the first grade shows where they stand. We should place about 20 above average students in a classroom. The teacher can challenge the above average without losing students. At the same time, recognize the below average, put only about 15, the teacher can teach a little less and go slower, but make sure they learn. Do this in grades 2 through 6. How do I know that it'll produce results? I went to a public school in a low-income suburb of Boston. Graduate 300 a year, roughly. Nobody gets into MIT. But Second World War, they need engineers. They had no dorm space. I and 3 of my classmates are admitted. At the end of the first year, the 4 of us were in the top 25%. Implement this in 2 or 3 schools for 2 years. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Yu.
Good job, sir. Good evening. I like to take a deep breath. It's been a long week. But I have a saying, everything will be okay after a while. Last week, Mr. Ezrati talked about Dr. Lawrence, and my friend and I think he's doing a great job and should be permanent. I did not know what the word interim meant until last week, and I'd like to see him full-time. He's a graduate of the Dayton Public Schools. I know parents are excited about that because they tell me he's going to make Dayton Public Schools great again. He has worked with teachers, he has met parents, and he has talked to children, and he's doing a great job there. At the last school board meeting, I saw something that I never saw in my life. I saw him listening as the school board members talked, and there was no disagreements, no arguments. And I've been to meetings in the past where it sort of looked like the Jerry Springer show up here. So I was very pleased with that. And the one thing about Dr. Lawrence, he knows where all the schools are. He has met many of the teachers, and I bet he even knows where all the restrooms are in this building. So, Dr. Lawrence, I'm rooting for you to become the superintendent. I think doctor is really your real first name, because as a doctor, you're going to save the lives of Dayton Public School students. Good luck and God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Do you have any other speakers?
That concludes tonight's speakers.
Thank you. Can we go back up to hearing of the bargaining units? Because I believe I saw a member walk in, and I want to give a chance in the event she would like to speak.
Good evening, President, Brookline board members, and interim superintendent, Dr. Lawrence. Protocol being established. My name is Marie R. Winfrey. I am local 627 for the bus drivers. Good evening again. We have some concerns as bus drivers, and we have some major concerns today And I brought this topic up before about our parents and the community. We're asking the district to really please assist us. Parents are cutting our buses off. They're following our buses unsafely because they're trying to get their students on the bus after they miss their designated stop. Then they're following the buses, and then they're cutting the buses off to put their child on the bus at an inappropriate and an unsafe location. Also, we're having parents coming into the moment of attacking the bus drivers verbally, while there's other students that's on the bus that is not their child, but someone else's precious cargo and someone else's child. So we're asking that we can get some assistance from the district and the community to assist us to make sure our children are safely transported to the school and back home safely. We're also asking for some other assistance that we need when things go, the streets and the traffic. They're passing our stop signs. We're asking if you can get a police to assist us in some kind of way. A driver was on Cornell picking up students at 3 different stops on Cornell. I was behind her, and not one car stopped at the stop sign at all 3 stops. Unsafe for our children. We're asking that the district help and assist us in making sure our children are safely transported to school and back home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence, I see you writing stuff down. Can you please look into what we can do and partner primarily with the city of Dayton to kind of help exactly what's stated here, our drivers and our students to be safe as they travel from home to school and from school back to home, please?
Absolutely. You and I have already had some preliminary discussions about cameras on buses that would catch folks who go past the bus, go through the stop sign, and that we could then communicate that with the authorities and for the city of Dayton, and then issue tickets. So we've had some preliminary discussions, and we're going to accelerate those now.
And internally, too, protect the second issue of the drivers being harassed by parents. If we could just look into what we can do to help support them, because again, they're out there by themselves with the power of persuasion right now.
Absolutely, and since you're really close to getting your CDL and driving the bus with kids, I want to make sure you're safe too.
Dr. Pickett?
Yeah, you mentioned in the cameras, how soon are we going to have those cameras on the buses?
We approved that a couple meetings ago, so I believe they're in the ordering phase, and those are the external cameras. So our newer buses already have those on them. I have to get with Mr. Beard, and I can get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
Right, Dr. Lawrence, your first recommendation.
I recommend approval of the 48-hour waiver rule for the following human resources agenda A.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Wick, second by Board Member Lacy. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
All right, your next recommendation?
I recommend approval of the following human resources agenda, item B.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Wick, second by Board Member Lacy. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
My next recommendation is the approval of the following item, human resources DEA after July 10th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Wick. Any questions, discussions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
No?
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Sampson,
No.
Ms. Wick,
No.
Dr. Pickett,
No.
Ms. Reinhardt,
No.
Mr. Lacy,
No.
7 no.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend approval of the following contracts and agreements under Section D.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Wick. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodway,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
7 yeses.
I recommend approval of the following consulting services under Section E. My recommendations.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Sampson. Sampson, is there any questions? Board Member Reiner?
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a quick follow-up question. I asked a couple questions about the Susan Nolan contract last week. Is this going to be, in addition to professional development, is there continual coaching that's involved in this contract?
Yeah. Ms. Shee, could you come and speak to that, please?
This particular amount of the contract is solely for the 18 hours training that the legislation says that our teachers have to have. And this particular cohort will be training 200 teachers for this particular contract. Now, once we get through, which will take care of kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, teacher leaders, some ISs, some EL teachers. Once we get through that portion, then the hope is that, well, next we'll have to go to fourth grade because now fourth graders have to have REMPs as well. But hopefully we'll be able to get her back for some job embedded coaching, but the TLs will be charged with follow-up and coaching with this model as well.
Thank you for that information. She's very highly regarded. I'm really grateful that we're able to get a contract with her. I would love to see additional coaching opportunities to DPS from her if we can.
We will definitely look for that, and come on out next week and join us.
Thank you. Would you send me
Yes, send her an invite. Tell her
send me
where
an
we're going to be.
invite? I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Board Member Reiner, we'd also like to add that Ms. Shee has been meeting weekly with Dr. Tom Lasley, President Emeritus of Learn to Earn, to develop a partnership there that will work to continue professional development and training with resources from them as well.
Yes, thank you. I read that in your update, and I was really grateful to see that. Thank you, Dr. Lawrence.
No problem.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, actually I have one. Do you guys have some type of tool just to show us how effective these contracts will be a year from now when they conclude?
Yeah, OST data.
Oh, man, that's what we going off of? All right. All right. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
7 yeses.
I recommend approval of the following resolution for administrative positions, System Administrator under F, Section F.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Wick, second by Vice President Smith. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation?
Board members, I recommend approval of the following settlement agreements and release. That means agreements under G, H, I, J.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Sampson. Are any questions? Seeing none, we are voting on G through J. May we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
And it's not a recommendation, but I just would ask board members to draw their attention to the settlement agreement, OGA, under Section K of the superintendent's recommendations.
Is there a is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Does that conclude your recommendation?
President Goodwine, it does.
All right, Madam Treasurer, your first recommendation?
I recommend the approval of amended certificate for 2024 as reviewed last week.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Dr. Pickett. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
Your next,
7 yeses.
your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following amended certificate of estimated resources
So moved.
as reviewed. Okay. Lacy?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following temporary advance as reviewed last week.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following monthly financial statements for August as reviewed by the Finance Committee on Thursday.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
and Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following resolution, 10 million advance repayment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following resolution, adoption of the pickup for SERS.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend is the approval of the resolution adoption of the pickup for stairs.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following resolution: tuition rates for 2023-24.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following approval of the minutes for August.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following donations for September 2023.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Wick. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following then and now, as reviewed last week.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend approval of the following purchase requisitions for 48-hour waiver.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Dr. Pickett. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend the approval of the following purchase requisitions.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Lacy, second by Board Member Wick. Are there any questions? See it, Board Member Sampson.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is under the 15,000 and less. I'm trying to get an understanding of Amazon Capital Services. They're on the more than 15, one for 21.6 and then one for 15.2. But then under 15,000 and less, there's 17 of these POs. Like, why wasn't it all combined into one? There's 17 Amazon Capital Services listed under 15,000 and less versus doing the one. It's the same thing.
I think from a purchasing standpoint, we thought board members wanted to see each individual one, but we could package them up.
So when you say each individual thing, Dr. Lawrence, what do you mean? This is what was spent each individual time?
Yeah, so we're trying to, so each one of those, as we try to, so there are resources and funds we're trying to spend so we don't lose them, and each one of those is assigned a purchase requisition number, but we could put them all together.
Got it.
So, can we include that? So we'll be including the Amazon in our vote. If you vote yes, you're also voting for the 15th, for this one.
Okay,
If there's no objection.
that's fine with me. Yeah, current to the policy, they should have been on the other one, because it's, well, I don't know, it's a little tacky, because they're different, but that's fine. And these are the $200 purchases that were given to the teachers?
No, these are
They are not.
additional funds that we would have lost if we hadn't spent them by the 30th of this month. So we did classroom supplies and books and other instructional and curriculum materials.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses. That concludes my recommendation tonight.
Thank you. All right. I'm gonna do some new business stuff before we go. So I'd like to recommend the approval of the following contract for the interim superintendent. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved to second. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna move into comments. There was a policy on here, our credit card policy, that we were going to ask the board for first and second reading, but it is not on here right now, so I'm not gonna ask you for it. So we'll do comments, and I'll go with Board Member Sampson.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things for me. I want to first shout out Belmont Band for coming in third place at the Battle of the Bands in Cleveland, Ohio this past weekend. I do want to shout out Dr. Lawrence and his team. I absolutely love the Next Level podcast. Episode 1 was the walkthroughs. That was kind of Episode 2, the internal and external customer service, was absolutely fun to watch. Thanks, Chief Dooley, for Gimbal, teaching us that you have no right to make any analysis unless you're going to the actual floor where the work is being done. So I appreciate that. Episode 3 has been my favorite because it's been listening to the future, and those 7 superstars, rock stars of students who was representing the schools, the district, and their families was absolutely amazing to watch. I learned that there are some, I was reminded that we have some absolutely amazing scholars in this district, and they deserve our very best, because when they start talking about they want to study law, physical therapist, professional basketball player, realtor, robotic engineer, police officer, and media arts, they deserve our best. And then to hear them talk about their favorite teachers and why was absolutely good to watch. So anybody that is listening that does not watch the Next Level podcast, please watch the Next Level podcast so me and you can have a conversation about the podcast.
We're trying to go global, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're on your way. You're on your way. And then last, to transportation, the pre-inspection video that Mr. Burney and Mr. Jewett presented to the community, it reminded us that transportation is more than starting a bus, picking up and dropping off scholars. I got tired of watching the inspection of all of the parts. Like, what? You got to do all of that before you get in a seat? So it was absolutely amazing. So to our PIO, the ones who are doing the videos, I am absolutely enjoying the videos, the content that are highlighting our staff, our scholars, and what it takes to be the day-to-day operations of the district. And so shout out to everybody in the district for a job well done. So yeah, Next Level Podcast. You gotta make sure that you're watching the Next Level Podcast. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Board Member Reiner.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, after summer break, the State House is back in session. There have been a couple bills that have been introduced. I'm not going to talk about every single one because they're not all relevant to school business. I will point out House Bill 267 is a bill that would make the state and district school boards partisan with party elections and party designations. The Ohio School Board Association has already spoken out against this bill. I support that. I don't know how my colleagues feel. I think that one of the truly wonderful and unique things about school board members across the state and across the nation is that we are nonpartisan. So many of my colleagues across the state don't necessarily have the same party affiliation as I do. We don't agree on everything, but what we do agree is that public education is important, and that keeping school districts and school boards nonpartisan, keeping that out of the partisan lane of elections is important. I personally oppose House Bill 267, and I'm grateful that the OSBA has spoken out against it as well too. Governor DeWine and Senator Brown are both talking about school bus safety, which is highly relevant in wake of the accident that happened a few weeks ago and things that are happening in Dayton. We prioritize the safety of our students above everything else. So there are a couple bills to improve the safety of children on school buses. It is important to note that the school bus transportation is a very, very safe method of transportation for our students. But if there are ways that we can make it better, whether it be by seatbelts or other methods, I would support that. Those are things that both Governor DeWine and Senator Brown are talking about. I was privileged to attend the Ohio School Board Association Urban Symposium last week. It was a really great gathering of my colleagues from across the state who really want to dig deep into urban boards and some of the things that we're facing right now, do some troubleshooting, get out of our silos, talk about what's going on in our districts. We had a really wonderful session. I couldn't stay the entire afternoon because I had to leave a bit early, but this was something that came from an event that Dr. Pickett and I attended last year, where we looked at the long history of school boards and public education since this nation was founded. Public education has always been controversial. We wouldn't be where we are today in educating women and girls, in educating Black and brown students, if it hadn't been for people pushing to improve public education. And I'm always grateful for the perspective that gives me to know that there might be things that we are working to, injustices that we are working to right, but it is a fight that I take up, understanding the history of it and knowing that there are still ways that we can do better. I had a really great meeting with Congressman Turner's area rep last week with a colleague of mine from Centerville. As the delegate for the Ohio School Board Association, for the Ohio School Board Association congressional district for the FLAG network, I have the privilege of being able to communicate with our federal legislators on a regular basis. In advance of my trip out to DC next week, where I'll be talking and meeting with Senator Brown, Senator Vance, and Congressman Turner's office, I reached out to Congressman Turner's area rep and was able to sit down with him, give an update on what we're doing in Dayton Public, talk about some of the challenges that we're facing. He had some really good questions for me, and I had some really good questions for him. There are some really wonderful things going on in Dayton that I'm always proud to share with him. So that was a really great meeting, and I'm very much looking forward to my opportunity next week to go out to DC on behalf of Dayton Public Schools and the Ohio School Board Association and meet with our federal legislators, talk about some of the legislation that we're looking at. Some of our priorities are, and I will give a report on this next month, but some of our priorities are always to fully fund the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, making sure that we are fully funding at the federal level the resources that we need to fully educate our children with disabilities. We want to make sure that we are recruiting and retaining high-quality teachers, something every single school district is struggling with. And I am excited to dig into some of the other legislative priorities that we'll be talking about there next week. And I will bring a report back next month. That is all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Wick.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentations tonight. Piggybacking on some of Board Member Sampson's comments, I too enjoy the podcasts. Thank you for giving us those snapshots into your experience every day and showing us what you learn and that sort of thing, so I enjoy it. Working, Welcome Stadium is up and running, and we're having nice big crowds at the stadium. On Friday night, we hosted Moeller and Xavier, and I think it's the first time in a very long time. We had probably over 7,000 people in Welcome Stadium on Friday night, which was really significant. Our first all-city game is this week. This week. We have homecomings coming up, so everybody please come out to Welcome Stadium and enjoy our students and our families and our bands and our cheerleaders. I know the kids really appreciate your support. I'm always, to see the crowds that showed up at Xavier and Moeller on Friday night and those huge crowds. I can't wait for the day when our kids have those huge crowds showing up to, we can just, we have nice crowds, but I want bigger crowds. So I want our kids to enjoy that same sense of success and excitement. So yes, Welcome Stadium. I attended the Montgomery County Business Advisory kickoff yesterday. Lots of good information going on there. Dr. Gale and Dr. Lawrence and the three of us. We had, who else was there? But anyway, looking forward to that work. I'll be kicking off my business advisory committee probably, I hope, sometime October, November. Student after-school activities. Have some goals set that by middle of second quarter, we're going to come in out with our some of our prime building, some of our after-school activities, working with the team around here. So thank you for allowing me to be in the buildings. I attended Kaiser's open house. What a great family representation we had there. And thank you for allowing us to do the work, and to the team that continues to show up every day. The excitement in the district and the buildings is wonderful. The excitement in our community is wonderful. And I thank you all, and thank you, Dr. Lawrence, for your continued work to do great things at DPS. So thank you.
Board Member Dr. Pickett.
Thank you, Madam President. The EADL committee met last month, and I've been quite involved in helping some students register to school. The international school today has 2 students that had been waiting to go to school for 2 years. Lack of communication, language issues sometimes causes us to lose students. And I'm delighted to say that there's 2 students that are finally in the 1st grade. That means they're in school for the first time. When I came to the finance meeting last Wednesday, the media wanted to talk to us. The media is here wanting to talk to us today. And they're requesting for us to say that it's okay, that we're doing something for our students, that this is not going to happen again. I'm committed to make sure that I get the answers and that we get solutions for issues like this. I will say that I learned about this on September 11th through the media, the same way you all did. So with that said, I can't really explain a problem that I am not familiar with, and I will make sure that I get all the answers and hopefully ways to remediate this. I have questions too. Unfortunately, I don't have answers for you today. And that's all I have to say, Madam President.
Thank you. Board Member Lacy.
The Finance Committee met last Thursday, and we went over, as was mentioned, and we went over the financial position and results of operation of the district, and I thank the treasurer for that. I'd also like to thank Dr. Lawrence for the tour of Thurgood Marshall yesterday, although we did not take the bus this time. That's all I have.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer.
The Treasury Department is very busy closing our grant funds, and we are working with academics, especially with Associate Superintendent Minor, and we are trying to use all the funds for this year allocated for our year. The second one is we settled our property tax with the county, and the settlement will compared to last year were comparable. We are working on our CAFR, which we do it in-house, and we are getting ready for our financial audits from the state auditors. That's it for tonight.
Thank you. Vice President Smith.
Thank you, ma'am. First off, I just want to give a measure of condolences to Bailey family. Mr. Bailey was a former SRO here and had a loss in his family recently. This is somebody who touched my life and my children, so he was around for a while. He was quite a character, so definitely want to wish him well during this time. I also want to send my condolences to the Colonel White family. They had a traumatic turn of events. I know we have some Colonel White graduates from around the same time that went to school with the young man and his family, so I definitely want to lift them up right now. And with that, I just want to say that as we go through a lot of the transitions we've gone through, we don't want to have to rehash the how and why we're here and who is there and who is not here, but understand that we have to move with a spirit of collaboration. People are in different spaces, people are in new spaces, people are in old spaces, people have been here and are still here. I just think that if you want to go far, you have to go together. It's easy to try to think of all the fixes that we need to do, but by doing that, it sometimes creates more issues. And I just want us to all sometimes just step back and make the main thing be the main thing. So I just want to send that message out to the district. And on top of that, just make sure as we move through here, we all move in different ways. The way we work may be different. I know Dr. Lawrence is up at the same time that I go to bed at night. So, I know that I can't call him at the same time that he might want to call me, but it doesn't make us any different. Understand those kind of things with each other. So I encourage you, we have a lot of new people leading departments, we have a lot of new people moving around. I just want us to watch how we treat each other and how we love on each other, because at the end of the day, it bleeds into what we do, and that's provide educational service for our kids. And I think that is what we have to continuously look at as our culture here. Two things I do want to lift up. The Mayor's Youth Summit was it last week? Last week.
Yeah.
We had a large number of Dayton Public School students there that were extremely well behaved. I want to thank our transportation department for getting them to and from. I want to thank Ms. Angela Worley for the work that she did and coordinating some of those things, and anybody else that have played a part. I always know if something's going on with our high schoolers, Ms. Dooley is somewhere in there. She might not always raise her hand, but she's somewhere in the mix whenever that happens. So I just want to lift that up. And then also on yesterday, Mr. Stacy Worley took the largest number of young men that they've had down to the My Brother's Keeper event at the Cincinnati Reds Stadium. And it was a joy to see those young men just learning about entrepreneurship. They learned about just the different paths of life. They had people talking to them all day, and it was centered about what they want to do. And it was very interesting seeing how the Reds are not as bad as they've been the last few years. So it was a lot more hype around being down there with the team. But just seeing them get those experiences that unfortunately a lot of kids in urban environments don't get to have. And for them to be lifted up like that, I really appreciate that. Lastly, just make sure we're doing what we need to do. I know we talked about some of the ESSER dollars. Let's please make sure that on top of that, these grants and all these other things that go through, there are so many resources, and we want to make sure that we're good stewards of these resources. So encourage everybody to keep the main thing, and let's do this thing. Appreciate you all.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Board Member Smith. I love when you say that. Let's keep the main thing. Always keeps me focused. Yeah, so we held a faith-based luncheon the first week after I was named interim at Jackson Center, where about 55 faith-based folks came out. And at the end of that, what I didn't know was going to happen, I was going to have requests to go to each church. So I have 55 dates set up. On Sunday, that's where my Sundays are. So the last 3 Sundays have been Macedonia, shout out to them, Wayman, and Faith Deliverance. And so it's been fascinating. Happiness Consultants, they are working diligently on the operations side to figure out how we can retain employees here and how happy people are in this organization. So I am looking forward to their concluding their work and transferring that work to other areas of the organization. Charlton, they're off to a great start in operations, survey, and working on focus groups so we can find out what makes people happy that are here in Dayton Public Schools so we can continue the momentum. Every month I have a cabinet shout out. Last month it was Judy Spurlock. This month it's Amy McComas and Terry Allen. Could not do this work without them. They handle every purchase requisition. All money goes through that office, and they are very, very busy, and they always make a way. Whenever we call and say, how do we do this? It's never no or you can't. It's here, let me show you how. And then Terry Allen always finishes with, I'm going to make sure that you don't go to jail, Dr. Lawrence. And so I appreciate you for that, Terry, if you're watching. Had a couple of meetings this month, a lot of meetings, but Ron Todd, a childhood friend of mine, graduated from Belmont. He works with Governor DeWine and his community outreach. He was down this week, and he's looking forward to partnering with Dayton Public Schools and working with the governor's office. And Charlotte McGuire, Dr. Pickett and I got a chance to meet with her, and she's a fascinating educator. She's on the State Board of Education, very influential, and has lots of things to say each day when she texts me. The Ohio 8 superintendents, I was with the urban superintendents about 2 Thursdays ago, and there were lots of tears among us, and we're going to continue to do the work even under some of the most difficult circumstances. And then finally, thanks a lot, Board Member Sampson, for the shout out for our podcast, The Next Level. The next episode is coming out tomorrow. Is that right, Alex? Oh my God, it's already out. Look at that, we're ahead of it. And this episode is attendance. So you'll like that one too. Who comes to work and who's doing work while they're here. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, I have a good list of stuff. I'll start with my most recent. I want to give a shout out to one of our new teachers, Holly Vance, over at Thurgood Marshall, who just made the transition from SRO to teachers, primarily because I got a text message from my nephew telling me that he's wearing a full suit to school tomorrow because he's in the career class, and he wants to make sure that he's the best dressed. So whatever you're doing in that class has him wanting to wear a 3-piece suit all day for that one class. So, I mean, best of luck to him and all those things. And I believe he's gonna do it too, so we'll see. I had the pleasure of stepping in for Board Member Sampson to go to the CUBE conference last week, and it was a really good conference. It centered around a lot of really board and superintendent dynamics and just really how that trust between both sides of the house are necessary to push us forward. I will say I learned a lot from individuals and some things that have happened in their area, and I'm excited that some of those things to put into our next board retreat. I also got to see Ice-T in person, and you know, for a 65-year-old individual, Ice-T still got it. Like, he still has it. And when I tell you he commanded the room, I was like, what is he gonna really talk about for this long? Because I've never seen Ice-T in the classroom. But he was up there and he was going, and everybody in the room, and they played his music coming out, and it was like, wow. And he came out and they told me I wasn't speaking to students and I wasn't speaking to teacher. And I'm like, well, who am I talking to then? And he was like, oh, so you guys make all the rules. He had a really good message of really making sure that not only do we teach students or we put things in for students to get those academic skill sets, but making sure they can deal with life. And that transition and how important it is. I just remember him saying when he left high school, he knew how to read, he knew how to tell what a stop sign said, and that was pretty much it. And the rest was on him to figure it out, and just those type of skills were necessary, like those life skills of that transition to, balancing your checkbook, getting a job, what comes next are very key. So I do appreciate that conference for bringing him in, and it's also one of those messages about how individuals who aren't necessarily in academic have so much relevance when it comes to how you teach people things and how people can receive messages from other individuals that other people try to tell them. I will shout out this week at Welcome Stadium, we have I believe it's our second city game between Thurgood Marshall and Dunbar. And we also have joining us for the second time the Wilberforce Marching Band, so please come out. We've had a lot of good work going on over there. The teams are excited. We're finally into the City League where you just get to see the best of the spirit throughout the city. I want to give a shout out to our athletic team as well as our operations team, because they have been doing, and our IT team, they've been doing a heck of a job of really managing the stadium and making sure individuals who come through there really have a world-class experience. I want to follow up Belmont. Our lovely marching band is on its way to Indianapolis this week for the Circuit City Classic. So if you want to see them off, give them well wishes. Please, please, please wish them well, as that band has been growing really great and really exposing children to different experiences. And I was happy to hear that they also have students from Stivers playing with them in the marching band. And I think that is just a phenomenal opportunity for children at different schools to be able to take advantage of an experience that is not at their school. I did have the opportunity to go to Rivers Edge in Fairview, and Rivers Edge is a phenomenal school, just the different learning environments and things that are going on in there. I think Montessori, I don't really know much about it, and I'm gonna tell you guys, when I'm in there, I'm like, man, people just get to walk around. This is so cool. I wish I would have had something like this, and I think everything that I saw going on in that building was just, they're on the right path, and I'm hopeful. I'm gonna go check out our international school to see what's happening on the Montessori side too, because I heard that they've been working in partnership. Fairview, I think that community is building. It is really coming up. You see the culture in there. I believe today I heard that they achieved over 90% of attendance when they were averaging about 84% last year. And that is just very encouraging to hear that what's happening in our schools this year, we're seeing growth in the right direction. Okay, I also want to give a shout out to our transportation team, because they deal with me so much right now because I'm a trainee in transportation. And I didn't, as Board Member Sampson has stated, the amount of information, I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in a sorority or fraternity, but you feel like you pledging when you go over there. And and they charge you up. And they go, you got to move the bus, we can't do it for you. And they don't take no for an answer when I told them that I don't believe that I am qualified to ride on the highway yet, and they go, no, you got it. We'll go ahead and put you out there. We'll go right on the connector. So I think it has been an eye-opening experience to see the amount of training that individuals put into you to help make sure that you can safely move a bus and do all these things. I am excited about the videos because they help with training outside of here. They go through a lot, and Mr. Anderson is going through it with me as well, and we are learning a lot about other individuals in our organization. So I hope that as a community, we continue to encourage other drivers to drive with more caution when you see the school bus, to be more aware that that bus has, although it's one of the safest vehicles on there, it is still a big vehicle with precious cargo on it. And it's someone's child, it's someone's sister, someone's brother, someone's uncle, someone's niece, someone's nephew. It requires everyone in this community. There is nowhere that anyone needs to be in Dayton, Ohio that can't wait a solid 5 to 10 minutes for that bus to finish what it's doing for you to go and move forward. So please, please be advocates out here as well to encourage other drivers just to slow down, stop, breathe for a second, go another way. Let them do what they're doing because they are vital to our community. Second to last, I want to give a shout out that I believe we are in Hispanic Heritage Month. I did not get to go to the Hispanic Festival, but I hear it was a great time. I'm excited to see what we do as a district to celebrate this culture because this is a part of who we are, and we have to celebrate each other and learn about each other so we can continue to grow. So I have one final thing for us as a board that we need to discuss and make a decision on before we move on, and that is on, last week we saw 2 search firms for the superintendent, search firms, and I don't believe, are we gonna make a decision? Do you guys wanna talk about it? What you guys wanna do? Anybody?
Madam President, I don't know how other board members feel, but I feel confident in knowing who I think we should go forward with. So I don't know how you want to go forward with having a vote, but I'm ready at this point.
Wanna do a poll for the
Sure.
2?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that? Or do y'all just want to do a poll on if you want to go pick one, none, or whatever? You guys, I had one person say yes. It's 7 of us up here. The other 5, do you guys want to do this?
Well, I can make a motion to recommend one, or do
Okay,
you-
yeah.
Okay.
Wherever you put
I'd
out
like to make a motion to recommend Alma Advisory Group as the search firm.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Sampson,
No.
Ms. Wick,
No.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
4 yeses, 3 no.
All right. Pursuant to section 121.22G2 of the Ohio Revised Code, I move that this board go into executive session. This meeting is being held to consider the employment of a public employee. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Yep.
Hey, I'm Deshawn, and I'm here at Wagamin Middle School interviewing the student spotlight, Christina. Christina Tinsley is an 8th grader at Wagamin Middle School. Christina has excellent attendance, excels academically, and always has model behavior for her classmates. She is respectful, responsible, and attends all of her classes on time. Christina is on the Wagamin Praise Dance team, participates in all positive school climate events, and is an overall joy to have in the building. How does it feel to excel in your classes and get good grades?
It feels good, but it kind of feels normal because I've been doing it for like a couple of years now.
Where did you go before you came to Wagamin?
I went to Louise Troy.
How was your experience?
It was fun. All the teachers is great there.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Probably between Mr. Miller and Miss Grant and Miss Coleman.
So tell me about praise dance.
I like praise dance. I like our teacher, Derica. She a good teacher, but she been doing praise dance for a long time. It's someone like, they have a lot of crazy dances, but they're easy to do though, but it's fun. Like, I'll keep doing it like for a long time probably.
Do you know what you want to be when you get older?
Yeah, I want to own my own business and do hair because I'm really good at doing hair.
Did you know that Ponies has cosmetology?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go to Ponies for cosmetology and learn about hair.
It's a really good program. Being nominated for Student Spotlight, what message would you like to give students and family?
I would say like that y'all would need to work hard in school. Getting good grades. Like it'll help you for like if you want to get into like colleges and stuff like that. Having good grades and then help you in high school. And that's all I know.
We're here today to break ground on our new transportation center. It's a facility that's going to house about 170 transportation individuals. That means mechanics, drivers, paraprofessionals, secretaries, IT analysts, and other payroll specialists. And so all those folks will be housed in that space. We'll also have brand new concrete where we're standing now for all 150 of our buses, which is a huge undertaking in itself. So not only a renovation of the transportation center, but also a full blacktop for both sides of the transportation center for the buses and new parking for the employees. I'm most excited for the employees. I've said it on a number of occasions. I've said it at board meetings. I've said it in the paper. Equity is a big issue for me. This is a space that we've forsaken. It's been one of the last structures that we've renovated. This is a space where mostly women are here, and we've looked the other way until now. I am proud to have been one of the primary drivers of this project, along with support from the Board of Education.
We've done a full overhaul of Welcome Stadium when we come to renovation. If it was in there, we touched it. We have the field that opened up last season, the track that opened up last season. Those were completely renovated to new state-of-the-art materials. And as you see, as you drive by, we have an amazing press box that happened. During the season, we actively worked to make sure that we got our bleachers touched on. Our locker rooms have been up to date because we live in a different world now. We want our kids to feel comfortable and utilize them in the way they need. Concessions, which is the heart of why many people go to any event, is to get to food. We've also added in our Hall of Fame display because, again, there's a lot of rich history here that people don't know about, and the best way for them to learn about it is for them to actually see it.
At some point in your life, in your career, you've came through here for whether it was a 5K run, whether it was the pantry, whether it was a church having a celebration out in the parking lot. And I think that's what makes this project big, because it was bigger than DPS, but it is good to call it home. It's definitely a historic moment, and I'm glad that I'm able to be part of this experience. We're talking about 1949 when this was created. We're talking about 2008 when we had a new track and a new field, and here we are now. And not just here, everywhere, there's a lot of newness. So our kids, they deserve this and probably more.
When you hear the students in the classroom talking about all the renovations, they're thrilled about that because they go to some of the best schools all over Ohio, and they're in and out of great stadiums. When I first started with Dayton, I thought it was strange that you had a shared stadium, and I thought that might be a limitation. But I quickly realized how valuable that was, where you have all 6 schools and everybody's like, nope, this is my field. And so everybody gets their best time, and the students just love Welcome Stadium.
It actually means a lot. I think it shows a level of commitment by our district to put money into our facilities for the kids. It gives him an opportunity to look forward to something, to play in something nice. Playing in this stadium over 20 years ago, it was pretty old, the season at that time. And now to come back now to see the revamps and the changes, I mean, it gives a level of excitement, like I said, for people that like to come watch the kids play, just to see that we play in one of the nicer stadiums in all the nation. It's almost collegiate level facilities, and I think it's nice for the kids to look forward to that. By donating, it shows that we're invested with the kids also. So as a community, we say we're all about the kids, and you know, this is our opportunity to show that.
One of the biggest things when it comes to sports is it really helps the kids feel pride in their school, feel pride in where they're from, feel pride in their team. And so the legacy of anything, of any school, I mean, you hear about those stories, this person that graduated from this school, you talk about it forever. I mean, you know, there's kids that played at Belmont. I hear still brought up even from 4 years ago where none of these kids were there. People still talk about them, and it just goes back to having that sense of pride. Somebody that went to my school did this. I can do great things too.
I attended Ohio State University and became All-American, Big Ten player, and also a college football Hall of Famer. And after I left Ohio State, I went and played 13 years in the National Football League. I was a first-round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles in 1986, and I played in Philadelphia for 7 years, and I also scored a touchdown in Super Bowl 31. And this is a showcase. If you can play well here, you can play well anywhere, and it starts, Welcome Stadium. Football's been so good to me, and it's been special. It's given me so much. For me to have the opportunity to give back, out here you see people able to fulfill their dreams, and you watch the games and people will talk about them for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the dreams that they make here at Welcome Stadium.
Just being here, I mean, as a coach, as a community member, as a member of Thurgood Marshall alumni, just to see the renovation, see the opportunity that's being brought to the students here it's amazing, because this is our future. The student population right now, in another 10 years, they're going to be the people that are representing and making the decisions for our city, for our community, for just pretty much our society.
We've built a stadium that is not only for student athletics, it is for community events. It is for bringing different event goers into the area. We are in a location where this is where you want to be at, and we want our people and our community to feel that and feel that excitement when they're in here and throughout the whole space. This project was started in 1927, and it's 2023, and we're finally close enough to actually completing the full design of what Dayton Public School students should be able to enjoy and utilize. Welcome Stadium, honoring and advancing our legacy.
Hello, I am Rachel Blanks, 5th grade cluster leader at Edison Elementary School, and I am Dayton Public Schools. Asking me why I enjoy DPS is really a loaded question. How can I not love DPS? So I started here in 1990. I'm probably dating myself, but as a kindergartner at Fairview Elementary. So I grew up in this district. I watched my father work in this district. I watched my mother volunteer in this district. My daughter was in the district. This district is just like an extended family to me. It's a huge part of Dayton. I've seen the successes. I've seen the opportunities that arise out of Dayton Public Schools. I believe in DPS. When I see the students, the smiles on their faces, when I see those proverbial light bulbs, when I hear them telling me, Mrs. Blanks, I got it, or thank you, Mrs. Blanks, or Mrs. Blanks, can I stay here for the rest of the day? But also when I hear from parents and they're telling me how I have helped their child grow academically, behaviorally, emotionally, it's a big deal to me. Making a difference in the lives of my students is something that I take very seriously, whether it's exposing them to Japanese culture, which we're doing this year, or just helping them with exponents or multiplication tables. It's something that I do every day. Choosing Dayton Public right now is choosing to be a part of being a positive catalyst for change. It's choosing to be a part of an organization where communication and culture is lauded, is built upon, is celebrated, and it's a huge part of who we are. Choosing DPS means that you're choosing to stand up on the battlefield of protecting our children and protecting their futures and preparing them for a global society. You choose DPS if you're willing and wanting to make a difference in the lives of the students around you and to make a better future for everybody.
The Dayton Public School District is a thriving school system serving students from preschool through high school. With more than 12,000 students across 27 schools, parents can feel confident that their students will receive a high-quality education and graduate prepared for lifelong success. Here are 11 reasons you will love Dayton Public Schools. All DPS preschools are 5-star rated by the Ohio Department of Education and are free for students. All 1st through 3rd grade classrooms implement the district's successful double teaching model to increase academic achievement and close gaps. All 4th through 6th grade classrooms provide high-dosage tutoring for students, which reduces class size and provides students with more individualized instruction. Students of all ages have career exploration opportunities to help them learn about different career paths and develop an understanding of what is required to make their dreams a reality. DPS has one-to-one technology, which means all students have access to a Chromebook. DPS is home to one of the world's 41 Challenger Learning Centers, where students get hands-on experience with science, math, engineering, design, and learn about space travel and exploration. The district offers music and art opportunities at all grade levels. Middle and high school students can even take part in an all-city band to perform with students from across the district. Middle school students can participate in Project Lead the Way classes to explore STEM concepts and learn valuable life skills. These courses are designed to teach students to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, and team players. The district cares about both students and their families. Family resource coordinators are in many schools to help connect families to any resources they may need. And student resiliency coordinators and student behavior therapists are available to any student who may need counseling or support. The district offers 2 career technology centers to prepare students for college and careers. At Ponance CTC and Meadowdale CTC, students can choose from dozens of pathways and begin working toward industry credentials in their chosen field. All high school students can participate in College Credit Plus courses, which allows them to earn college credits for free during high school. These credits transfer to public colleges and universities after graduation. Students can even earn an associate degree while in high school. Learn more and enroll today at DaytonPublic.com.